यं करवावहै शांति शांति श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शंकरं लोकशंकरं शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। Hari Om Ji. We have seen Ekashchandra Sadvitiya. So when a person with a squint eye looks at the moon, it's possible he can see one moon as two moons. Squint eye thoda labhadayak hai. So it gives you some benefit. एक से बदले दो मिलेगा जी. You know, there was one captain called Patauti. So whenever he has a kind of a squint eye. Some flaw is there. So whenever the other one bowled, the one ball used to look like two balls, and he would always hit the false ball. The shadow, the other ball, you know. And the real ball would come and hit his wicket. Yo Rama. This is. So I don't think really it is really useful. Squint eye causes problems. In fact, any flaw in any faculty is a problem. In fact, any flaw in any faculty is a problem. You can't see properly, it's a problem. You can't hear, it's a problem. You don't think correctly, it's a problem. Mostly problems come only from ourselves. In fact, what the others think of you is a lesser problem to you. But what you think of others and yourself is the problem. What do you think? Somebody else thinking cannot be my problem. My thinking alone is the fundamental problem. Therefore, anyway, supposing a person, coming back to our point, you know, when a person has a squint eye, he sees one moon as two moons. Now the second moon is not that really because of the memory of the second moon he sees the second moon. Because second moon is nowhere. It is one is distorted as two. Bas. So even the number can be distorted. When I mistake the rope for snake, it is a distortion of the nature. It's a distortion of the nature. Instead of seeing the rope as rope, I see it as snake. This is distortion of the nature. But if I see one moon as two moons, then it is a distortion of the number. Whether it is distortion of the nature or the distortion of the number, ultimately we have to take it as nothing but the distortion of the nature. By nature the moon is one, I see it as two. It is a distortion of the nature. The earth is round, I see it as flat. It is a distorted thought about the nature of something. A good man, I look upon him as bad, it's a distorted thinking. Distortion is not something that is unknown to us. Human beings are very well versed rather in distorted thinking. This example should be applied. The one subject looks like many subjects. The one truth is seen as many. One conscious being is seen as many jivas. One truth looks as many details. Therefore, one being seen as many, it is like the one moon is being seen as two moons. Just as the second moon is not something that is elsewhere, somewhere. Similarly, the many are not somewhere. In fact, the many are neither present in the truth, they are neither the qualities of the truth, nor they are present elsewhere, because we can't think of some place which is away from the truth. Ekas chandraha sadvitiya vaditi nahi dvitiya chandra dvitiya nahi dvitiya chandraha kutrachidapi drishtapurvaha. So this error of the two moons, I would like to explain it a little differently. The error is not influenced by the memory of the second moon. The error is not influenced always by some detail. Distortions are not influenced by something. Distortion just takes place when I don't see the actuality. When I don't know what is the reality about something, when I don't see, due to some flaw in my faculty, then I see ignorance definitely leads to the error. In addition to ignorance, there is no other influence for the error. That is the crux of the matter. In addition to ignorance of the actuality, there is nothing that can influence the error. That I mistake the rope for snake is only due to the ignorance that it is rope. I don't know that it is rope, then I see it as snake. It is lying there. There is a small post. From a distance I see and I don't recognize that it is a post. I see it as a ghost or a man, a thief. Somebody standing, a person standing there. Or somebody may be standing there, Purusha, and he doesn't move his quiet. I may think that it is some post. Mistakes can happen, Ji. And when the mistake happens, one suffers. If that mistake is something, then one goes through suffering. Either one goes through suffering or one goes through a false pleasure. You understand, sometimes, it happens to be a shell and one sees it as silver. Until you discover it is not silver, the thought that it is silver makes you happy for a little while. थोड़ी देर के लिए आनंद तो आई जी, चलो मेरे को सिल्वर मिल गया. He sees it as silver. It's a mistake. It's a conclusion, it is silver. And then later on he discovers, my God, it is shell. Therefore that pleasure is what? Short-lived. Mistakes lead to either short-lived pleasures or long sufferings. Long sufferings means even suffering is short-lived, because I have to, until I discover it is not snake. The moment I discover it is not snake, it is rope only, the suffering is gone. All sufferings are temporary. All pleasures are also temporary. Only truth is eternal. Thus now, to be registered as senses, misconception is not influenced by anything other than ignorance. Applied to the Darshtantam. If I look at myself as a biological individual, if I look at myself as a physiological individual, if I look at myself as Mr. So-and-so, a very limited Mr. So-and-so, a very fleeting Mr. So-and-so, a very incomplete Mr. So-and-so, then the reason is only purely ignorance about my nature. I don't look at myself, this object. I look at myself. I'll keep looking at my body. I don't look at myself. There is a difference between myself and my body. Myself, when we say, it is a conscious being. Myself as a conscious identity. Subject. And subject cannot exist. That very status of being the subject, conscious identity, cannot be there without being comprehensive of the entire three states as itself. Like space cannot exist without being at once comprehensive of the air, fire, water, earth, in it and as it. The space doesn't have to make an effort to reach out to air. Aji? The space doesn't have to make an effort, it doesn't have to meditate and expand. The space doesn't have to meditate and expand itself to include, to reach out to air and fire and water. I say its very existence is not possible. It cannot be without being comprehensive of the whole thing. That's why space is being given as one of the drishtantas for Brahman. Even though the space is given as a drishtantam for Brahman in terms of subtlety, but we can give that example not only to highlight the subtlety but also a very important reality that it cannot be there without being all comprehensive. It doesn't have to become, it's a very, you should never never make a compromise on this point. If the self is at once unlimited, I don't have to do anything for it. I have to only listen to that statement. I cannot look at the object without my being there. There cannot be a state without the experiencer being there. There can't be a thought without our being there. There can't be even a blackout, I tell you, without our being there, because even blackout has to have the experiencer. A very, until you make a breakthrough, it is a wonder of wonders and wonders and wonders. It wonders. It is a wonder of wonders. But once you start really making breakthroughs, it is more wondrous than the most wondrous. समझ में आ गया? You don't have to move. Because your subject status cannot, meditate can't add to your subject status. No spirituality can add to your dimension, the infinitude. All comprehensiveness. Sarva upasamharakatvam. And therefore, if a person doesn't see his conscious identity, he is all the time looking at his biological identity. And the more he looks at himself as the biological identity, the more he fears its aging quality, and the more he fears its fleeting quality, the more he fears its dying quality. Man suffers biological identity, man only suffers. Physiological identity, man only suffers. Conscious identity, nobody suffers. That is the answer. If I don't understand conscious identity, then I live with the biological identity. Thus there are only two. One is a false identity, the other is the real identity. Biological identity is a false identity. Conscious identity is the real identity. Our real identity is not to be an Indian or an American or a headache. There is only biological identity and conscious identity. Even an American has only two identities, one false and one real, biological and conscious. African has only two identities, one false, one real, biological and conscious. And conscious identity cannot exist without being at one's all complete, like space. Thus, nothing can contribute, nothing can influence a mistake except ignorance about the actuality. Ignorance about the actuality. I experience a reality, but I don't recognize it. That is called ignorance. I'm experiencing the rope lying there, but I don't recognize it as a rope, then I mistake it for something. Thus, ignorance, for ignorance to be the thing about which we have ignorance, that thing should be already within experience. ये बहुत जरूरी है, ये बात को कभी छोड़ना नहीं. If the thing is not within our experience, we can't have ignorance. We can't have ignorance about heaven. It is not within experience. Scientists were ignorant about the entire science before, few hundred years ago. We were all ignorant about so many things. And those so many things we were every day living. It's a part of creation and we are living the creation. Creation is all the time within our experience, within our sense experience. It doesn't matter. It's sense experience. The gravitational force, we were always living it, but we didn't recognize it. We were experiencing the earth, but we didn't recognize that it is what it is, round or flat. Therefore, heaven we don't know, we don't experience something called heaven. It is a belief. Now, because the heaven is not within our experience, can we have ignorance about it? How can you have ignorance? Because the condition for ignorance is the thing about which you have ignorance should be already in experience. It destroys all the jokers who speculate about the truth. It is a death knell. This one statement that ignorance can't be there unless the object of ignorance is already within experience, whether sense experience or self-evident. You can't have ignorance. You can't say I am ignorant of God. Which God? As a God, if you think it is there in heaven, then you can't have ignorance about God. Because if we have to have ignorance about God, then God should be already within experience. And the God that is within experience is none other than the subject. One's own being. We don't experience anything other than our own being and the universe. What else do we experience? We experience only our being and the universe. And the universe is the creation and the being, the conscious being, is the source. As the source of everything, the same being is Bhagavan. And the same being in equation with the body is called Mr. So-and-so. Water as ocean is Bhagavan. Water as a form wave is called Jiva, Mr. So-and-so. Last. Therefore, if you say Bhagavan is elsewhere, then you can't have ignorance. Therefore you cannot know him also. Because you can't remove ignorance. You are nahi ignorant. उसको कैसे निकालेंगे जी? Therefore, all ignorance is about what is within experience. All understanding is about all that is within experience. You can't understand what is beyond experience. You cannot even think of something beyond it. You can't even prove something beyond experience. Why? Because in order to prove something beyond experience, it has to fall within experience. What a problem? What a problem? You can't prove something beyond experience because in order to prove something beyond experience, it has to fall within experience. This is outside experience, you can't say. The moment you say this is, then it is already there. ये सारी बातें सोचना जो है यही वेदांत है. I'm telling you. This is what is called understanding. Slowly figuring out what we are. It's not merely doing something. Thus, embodiment, the problems of embodiment, the limitations, the problems of embodiment, the fears of embodiment, the unpleasant events of embodiment, the unpleasant relationships of embodiment. Within this embodiment we go through so many problems. Are because of embodiment. The problems of embodiment are because of embodiment. And embodiment is nothing but looking at myself as the body. That is called embodiment. And why look at myself as the body? Because of the ignorance. Is there something else? No. In addition to self-ignorance, there is no other factor that influences the misconception. ठीक है ना? समझ में आ गया? हाँ जी, इसको समझने से है ना बहुत आनंद जिंदगी में क्या. Once you touch 40, 50, you are not wanted by this world. You feel important as long as you are wanted. Children, the moment they grow up, they don't want you. First they don't need you. Then slowly they graduate to thinking that they don't want you. When they are into their early 20s, they don't need you. After marriage, they don't want you. Which is better? They don't need you, they don't want you. I tell you, this thought that nobody wants me is a very killing thought. And everybody will have to go through that in life. It's a question of time. That is why Bhagavan says, Yavad vitto marjana sakta dhavan nija parivaro rakta paschat jivati jarjara dehe vartam prichyati kopina gehe. All those verses which I like get memorized. Apne aap. Samavarada. Those verses which touch me get memorized. Those verses which I can also write like that, they don't get memorized. They don't touch you. They're just commonplace thoughts. But this is a very beautiful thought. There is a moment in life when you are not wanted. And not only you are wanted, They are not wanted. Sometimes they even become worse. They don't want you anywhere near. That is why they book an apartment in Rishikesh. Jao, Vanaprastha mein jao. Therefore, understand these things. Ataha sadvitiyatvam chandre asadapi avabhasate iti sopi adhyasaha. Therefore, even though the moon doesn't have a quality of looking to, it has a quality of only looking one. Like the fire doesn't have the quality of looking both hot and cold. The fire has only a singular quality of looking hot. Similarly, the moon has only one quality of looking one moon, not two moons. And if somebody sees it, then it is his illusion. जो वास्तव में नहीं है उसको देखने से illusion ही तो है और क्या. If you don't want to use the word illusion, all right, use a philosophical term called error, distortion. And if you want to be more Sanskrit in your thinking, call it adhyasa. Call it adhyasa, call it distortion, call it error, call it sapna, dream, or call it error, it's all the same. Call it Maya. Maya. If there is only one moon, I see two moons. If I am fundamentally, I continue to have conscious identity. In the waking I have that conscious identity. Dream I have conscious identity. Sleep also I have conscious. My conscious identity, you can't add to it, you can't delete from it. That is your conscious, that is kutastha. You can't add to the conscious identity. You can add one more thought to yourself, but you can't add a little more consciousness to yourself. बहुत बड़ी बात है. You can add one more thought to your dimag, but you can't add a bit more conscious, because you are already the unlimited. Therefore, our conscious identity is there in the waking, dream and sleep. Therefore, we can't add anything to it, can't delete. That's what you have to look at. You see, the waking thoughts are deleted in the dream thoughts are deleted in the waking, all thoughts are deleted in sleep. But conscious identity is not deleted. This is called Anvaya Vyatireka Nyaya. Thoughts have negation, conscious identity has. And even this biological look, where do you see this look? When you are fast asleep, you are only peaceful, you are not standing as a form. God. Transcend the form. Or the equation with the form resolves. जो अपना नहीं है वो resolve होता है. What is not oneself resolves. What is not oneself appears in oneself and resolves in oneself. But oneself doesn't resolve. That is why he says, तथापि नहि द्वितीय चन्द्रः कुत्रचिदपि दृष्टपूर्वः तथापि पूर्वदृष्टः एव वास्तविका चन्द्र सदृशः इव च व्योम्नि भासते तैमिरिकस्य अतः सद्वितीयत्वं चन्द्रे असदपि अवभासते इति सोऽयमध्यासः. One moon looks two moons. In the same manner, the conscious being looks like a biological body. But itna hi hai. It's all there. How the round earth can look, how one can live with the conclusion that the earth is round, the earth is flat. The earth is flat, even though it is No. One can live with a wrong notion forever. Similarly, even though one is the eternal, one can live on with the conclusion that I am subject to death. Even though one is by nature not the form, one can continue to live with the conclusion that I am nothing more than a form and suffer it. Because you can never have a mistake about the truth which is better than the truth. Sometimes mistakes are more attractive than the reality. Haji, like happens to be a shell, but you mistake it to be silver. So your mistake is more attractive than the reality, the shell. You see? But if we make ever a mistake about the unlimited, you can never mistake it to be better than unlimited. If we make a mistake about the eternal, we can't mistake it to be something better than, more than eternal. All sins committed against oneself are never to our advantage. Simple baat. All mistakes are sins committed against myself. Because you can't commit a mistake or a sin against somebody. It's all against yourself. That is why when you commit a sin, supposing you hurt somebody, you are thinking you are hurting him. Actually you are hurting yourself, because your sin is going to ultimately bring you dukkha. However smart you are, however fast you are, can you overtake space? Haji, can you overtake space, ji? Very fast. Can that Olympics champion, the Olympian, 100 meters dasher, world champion, can he run faster than, can he overtake space? He goes beyond. A long jumper, can he jump out of space? Can a high jumper jump higher than the space? Is up dekho ji. Unnecessary. Therefore, whenever you can successfully hoodwink somebody, don't think you are being smart. You are being stupid, that's all. Whenever you successfully cheat somebody, you think I am successful. मैं तो बड़ा स्मार्ट हूँ जी, मेरे को कोई नहीं पकड़ सकता, मेरे को तो कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. The one who thinks like this and has some kind of false satisfaction, he thinks he is very smart, but he is only stupid, he is wasting time. He is brewing up a hell for himself. Slowly he is just building up a hell for himself. Every sin builds up, adds one more brick to the hell. Every sin adds one more brick to the hell. ये तो पक्की बात है. And he is going to have a posh flat in that. Yes. क्या करना है? That's why listen to Vedanta, sanity comes. Really. Listen to Vedanta wherever it is. It is not that you have to listen to a particular person. Vedanta correctly taught is glorious. Vedanta correctly looked at is glorious. If we interpret Vedanta also to mean, some mysticism or tantra, then gone. Then you can't, then the final hope is gone. If you distort Vedanta, the last hope of man is gone. Because the only hope that man has is himself. He is the last hope. He tried everything in the creation, nothing happens, nothing solves. Ultimately, he has to come back to himself. He is the final hope. And there also the literature that talks about himself, if that literature also is distorted, then you are distorting the final hope, really. That's why I continue to take this, continue to emphasize, the sole answer is Vedanta and nothing like it if it is taught correctly. It's looked at correctly. Not that every satsanga talks about Vedanta. Mostly satsangs talk about do's and don'ts. अच्छा काम करो, झूठ मत बोलो, भगवान का नाम ले लो, माता पिता का सेवा करो, अच्छे अच्छे बातें करते हैं. अच्छे अच्छे बातें are different from Vedanta, which makes you look at yourself, the conscious identity. अच्छे अच्छे बात भी अच्छे हैं. We don't say that. वो भी अच्छे हैं. That is different. But they are called dharma. अच्छे अच्छे बातें are called dharma. Something? Some आवाज is coming. Phone it. Some phone here.
This one. This phone. This phone is
Making noise. Very well. तदेव हि द्वितीय चंद्रस्य असत्वं नाम यद अतैमिरिकेण पुरुषेण कुत्रापि अशक्य दर्शनत्वं. Very beautiful. This is the final proof of the falsity of the second moon. What is the final proof? That a person who doesn't have the cataract, he doesn't see it. Only a person with cataract sees one moon as two moons. But a man whose sight is all right, he sees only one moon. Everybody who has no cataract sees only one moon. And if a given person with a cataract sees two moons, then it is a distorted perception. The eyes distorted, and he may live with the conclusion in the mind there are two moons. His squint eye presents the second moon, but without doubting he lives with it. In his mind he thinks that is also another. You see, this is the problem. One is an illusion, the other is a conclusion. If I don't correct the illusion, then I live with the conclusion that illusion is a reality. If I see the mirage water, it is an illusion, optical illusion. It is optical illusion. But if I think, if I conclude that it is real, then it is a adhyasa. Adhyasa is always in the form of conviction, wrong conviction. And anyway, any illusion until it is corrected will remain as a reality, the conclusion. Therefore, all illusions can also come under the same category called adhyasa. Adhyasa. Even dream is an adhyasa. You are living in the bed, on your own bed. Close your eyes and then dream that as though you are flying in the sky. And this is what? A person inside the house, you are seeing yourself inside the house, you are seeing yourself as, it is all error. तदेव हि द्वितीय चंद्रस्य असत्वं नाम यदा अतैमिरिकेण पुरुषेण कुत्रापि अशक्य दर्शनत्वं तस्मात् अधिष्ठाने यदन्यत्र वा Yat kvachidapi adrishtapurvam tasyapi sambhavitaha eva dhyarupa iti siddham. Therefore, even though the second moon is nowhere in the creation, at the same place two moons are not there, but yet I see one moon as two moons because one can be distorted as, number can also be distorted. One can be distorted as two. Rope can be distorted as snake. It is a distorted perception. And every distortion makes us only suffer. You are living with a person. He's a nice person. And he may be having flaws. Just as you have flaws. We all have flaws anyway. Is it not? Everybody has flaws. Who doesn't have? As a jiva, you can't be perfect jiva. And the more you expect perfection, the more you will be unhappy. Why? Because you are looking for the impossible. You are looking for the impossible. The more you expect the impossible, the more you are frustrated. My husband should be perfect. The husband also says, my wife should be perfect. I tell you, even if you process her through the beauty parlor, or you process both of you through the beauty parlor, for 1 hour they look, theek hai. Afterwards again, the swabhavam comes. These are all unnecessary. They don't know. I say, live with what is available happily. Learn to live with what is available happily. And understand the truth. If you want to live with the best where can you get it? Because for you today what is best, tomorrow is the same, best may not be best. That is why before marriage, he was the best partner, would-be partner. I have found my best match. Okay, Ji. After 1 year, he becomes a little less than best. And with every year it becomes lesser and less. Subject, forget it. It's all wrong thinking. Follow values will make you happy. Not likes and dislikes. Tayorna vashamagachet, Bhagavan says, tauhyasya paripanthinau. Likes and dislikes are like highway robbers. You can be very easily waylaid by them. You can be robbed of your happiness by your likes and dislikes. Follow the right values. They can guarantee you happiness. Therefore, adhishthane, therefore, one can always see an error that is neither in the reality nor elsewhere. It is siddham. That means the snake that I see in the rope should be somewhere, or the silver that I see in the shelf should be somewhere. Similarly, this body that I see in myself should be somewhere, or the universe that I see in Brahman should be somewhere. It is not, aisa nahi hai. It can be cooked up. It is not that the dream mountains that you see in the dream are somewhere. What is not there also can be cooked up. You can always, forms can get cooked up in a way. Tasmat, therefore, anubhava anusari api. This is in keeping with our universal experience. Idam adhyasa lakshanamiti sthitam. Thus, the definition of adhyasa, the definition of a mistake, what is an error, the definition that has been given by Bhashyakara is flawless because it is in keeping with our experience. Anubhava, anusara. In retrospect, we always say, rope only looked snake, shell only looked silver. Here also, I am looking to be the body. The subject only looks the body. In this matter, there is no problem. Rope only looks the snake. Shell only looks the silver. Water only looks the wave. Something else no. They are not two, water and wave nine. Water he looks. The water itself looks like a wave. The rope itself looks like a snake. The shell itself looks like silver. The subject itself looks like the body. The eternal itself looks like the non-eternal. So we don't have two things called the eternal and the non-eternal. No, the eternal itself looks the non-eternal form. Truth only looks a form. Truth only looks you and me, all living beings. Therefore every living being is none other than the same truth, but ununderstood. Thus, the purpose of life is to look at oneself, the conscious self, and overcome the error about it. और कुछ काम नहीं. Now we are through with this. I have covered, I have tried my best to explain because it is not easy to deal with this book. एक लाइन में समझना मुश्किल है. I am not saying really in praise of myself, but in Bhagavan's grace that I am able to do it. Sheer grace. Otherwise, you get messy. The moment you touch the topic and we don't know how to go ahead with it, we mess it up. Even this much if you are clear, nothing else contributes to the error except a truth ununderstood us, ignorance. Bhagavan says, Shankaracharya says at one place, Shuktika hi rajatavad avabhasate. You can memorize this. Silver, shell itself is seen as silver. और कुछ नहीं. Not that the ignorance about the shell undergoes change and looks like silver. The ignorance about the shell doesn't change and become the silver. Due to ignorance, the shell looks like silver. Not ignorance looks like silver. It is not that the ignorance doesn't look the round earth. Due to ignorance, we conclude it as flat. Even though it is round, when I don't know it is round, I live with the conclusion it is flat. But don't say flatness is the result of the ignorance. It is not a fraud. It's like, the curd is the transformed form of milk. Transformation is different from distortion. Think about this. Transformation is change. Distortion means no change, a wrong view. That is distortion, distorted thinking. We don't require transformations in ourselves. We require corrections of distortion. Yes. Oh, we have to transform ourselves. Transform into what? Transform into what, Ji? We have to transform into Brahman. So you are already, the wave doesn't have to transform into being water. It is already what? The table has to transform into wood. It is already wood. We have to transform into the truth. We are already it. We have to transform into being a conscious. We are already it. How can you transform into what you already are? Therefore, we have a civilization that emphasizes on the need for a transformation. Vedanta doesn't put emphasis on transformation. It never says you must transform. It says you must correct your thinking, that's all. You must correct your thinking. You don't have to transform into something. Correct your thinking. Even greed is wrong thinking, correct it. Jealousy is wrong thinking, correct it. Anger is wrong thinking, correct it. Even dishonesty is wrong thinking, correct it. Looking for extramarital friend is wrong thinking, correct it. Education is more in the form of correcting wrong thinking. Education is not in the form of transform into. So you go for plastic surgery, you have a transformed look. Is that like that? Change is not what we require. Education is what we require, in which correction is there. Even if we use the word change, it means the change in one's thinking. Change in one's thinking is correction in one's thinking. But change in one's thinking is not change. Change in one's thinking is correction. Previously I used to think I must accumulate more and more and more and more and more and more. And now I feel it is a wrong thinking. I'm content with whatever I have. It's a correction of thinking. It is not just a change of thinking, it is a correction of wrong thinking. Some people are there, the Mula Vidyavadis are going, it is better to say. This Mula Vidyavadis is divine, amazingly. This universe is not, Brahman is not looking like the universe. The ignorance about Brahman looks like the universe. Rope doesn't look like snake. The ignorance about the rope quickly changes and becomes snake. Are you able to follow the funny? You must see the fun in it. It's really a joke, Ji. It's really a joke. This joke we will see in the next class. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.